By definition, a system is simply an organized collection of parts, highly integrated to accomplish an overall goal. Listen to that. A system is just a bunch of parts that we put together and we integrate them deeply. And we get more than the sum of the parts. We get more. That fulcrum and a lever helps us get more. So if we're in tough times, if we're in budget crisis, if we got to do more with less, then systems are the only way. Archimedes was right. But the only way we're going to build great systems isn't because your director is going to come up with 75 brilliant ideas every 3 weeks. It's going to be because all of us are thinking in terms of systems. And the residual impact is that it will help your life. It'll help your life. By definition, a system is systemic, meaning related to or affecting the entire system. But that's not to be confused with systematic or sequential, methodological, step by step. We're talking about holistic. We're talking about big picture. We're talking about being proactive. You see, I would make the case that our whole world is a system, like the solar system. Doesn't it amaze you that a ball of fire in the sky, literally millions of miles away, if it moved 1 inch or 1 centimeter further, or 1 inch or 1 centimeter closer, it would change our very existence here on the planet? Doesn't that just make you go, what? Doesn't it blow you away that there's this white ball at night up in the sky that affects the way the oceans and the tides react and move? You know why? Because there's wires. Because there's wires between here. No wires. There's a system. Gravity. Universe. System. How about biological systems? Your body is a biological system. Your heart. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to contemplate it. Your heart beats. And even when you abuse the crap out of it, your heart still beats. Even when your physicality is such that it puts a strain on it, your heart still beats. Even when you pollute yourself, your heart still beats. Phenomenal system. There is no system on God's green earth like your heart, but it's a system. How about mechanical systems? There's a thermostat right over there on the wall. It's been designed for a specific purpose and task. And when all of the elements of that thermostat or that system are in place, you get the intended result. Listen to what I just said. The thermostat on the wall was built for a specific purpose. It's connected to other things. And when it's all in alignment, you get the result that's intended. It's comfortable. Now think about your department. Think about you specifically. Is there a system? Most systems sound like this. I don't know, just what we do around here. I don't know, just what we do around here. I don't know, that's not going to change. That's because the system has organically grown up. It wasn't designed for a specific purpose, or when it was way back here, that specific purpose got lost and no one maintained the system, so it just kind of grew into something. And that's why we do this. I don't know, just what we do around here. I know it doesn't make sense. And then we wonder why we don't get the result that we intended, or that we had hoped for, or we aspire to. Not because the people are bad, but because the system. How about mechanical human systems, like a bicycle? Doesn't it amaze you that you can be on a bicycle and you turn that thing and you go really fast? The gears allow you. How many of you are from my generation and you had a 5-speed? Or maybe you had a 10-speed. Yeah, come on now. I had a 1-speed. And then I got a 3-speed. My dad hooked me up with a 3-speed. And then Keith Hoffman got a 10-speed. Yeah. And I took my little card, remember my playing card, and I put it in the front wheel with my little clothespin, and I had my 3-speed. Click, 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 click. And there wasn't anybody in my neighborhood, Chauncey Street in Tucson, Arizona, that could beat me on my bike until that damn Keith Hoffman got that 10-speed. And you know, I could hear him behind me when he'd kick it up into that 10th gear, because it would go like this. You'd hear that little chain, click, 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 click. And you would know that now all of a sudden he's coming at you with that 10-speed. Was he stronger than me? No. No, he was not. He was a skinny runt. Was he tougher than me? Hell no. And if I saw him today, I would still say that. Why could he beat me every single time? Because I was over here on my 3-speed. He was on the 10-speed. Mechanical human system. In some white space, write this: force multiplier. That 10-speed is a force multiplier. If we're going to get more done with less in difficult and challenging times, the only way we're going to keep our sanity is effective systems. Keith Hoffman had a better system than me. He had a 10-speed. I had a 3-speed. Sounds like that left a scar on you. Yes, it did. How about ecological systems? How about predator and prey? Predator and prey. How about on the Serengeti Plain, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom? Marlin Perkins, some of you from my generation know what I'm talking about. Marlin Perkins. And then there was the wildebeest. And then there was the cheetah, or the lion, or the lioness in the tall grass. And she came out of that tall grass. Rah! She took down the wildebeest. And then her cubs came and ate. And then after the cubs ate and they were full, ooh, then all of a sudden, who came along? The hyena. Woo, woo, woo! The hyena came. The hyena came and ate. And then who came? All of a sudden, the vultures came. And then the ants came. And then the larvae came. And then the little mites that we can't even see came. And then it decomposed into the ground, that wildebeest. And then the flowers come up. That's a system. That's a system. Social systems. Social systems, like in your workplace. That's why 3 of you sat over here, and 2 of you sat over there, and 4 of you sat over here. Because there's a system going on. Really? Yeah, it may not be perceived. It may be unintentional, but cliques, social groups. How about this one? I don't know. I'm just excited to be pregnant. My mom had me when she was 15. Her mom had her when she was 15. And I'm about to have a baby now at 16. Wow. System. Or how about this? I don't know, we're just doctors. I was a doctor. My dad is a doctor. His dad is a doctor. Just doctors. System. System. Deming, the great business guru, said this. He said that 80% of the problems in the workplace are systems, not employees, not individuals. It's just a bad system. That's like me sitting at the restaurant the other day, looking at the window of the restaurant, you know where they put the food up, looking at the window there, and I can see my burger. I literally can see it. There's nobody else in the place, and yet I can't get my burger because the gal is running to 7 other different places to grab the things. She's grabbing me ketchup in one place. She's grabbing me mustard in another place. She's grabbing me mayo in another place. She's grabbing me napkins in another place. She's got to run to 7 different places, and I'm watching her run around, and I finally just got up and got my burger. And the manager's like, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, that girl's got to run to 7 different places to get me my burger. Well, yeah, you know, all those things need to be brought to you. You'll want them. I said, yeah, but you as the manager should build a better system so she doesn't have to run to 7 different places. Systems thinking. Why are you taking so long on this, the setup? So that you can start to think in terms of systems. If I can get you to see systems because of your vocational knowledge, because you've forgotten more about what you do than I'll ever know, you'll start to think in systems. And you'll start to say to yourself, now why do we put that over there? And why does that go over here? Or why do we process things this way? Or why do we push paperwork through like that? How can we gain efficiencies through better systems? How can we lower stress through better systems? But it isn't, I don't think it's a good idea to have somebody far, far away from you come up with the system you should use. It should be you. Benjamin Franklin said this, let the people closest to the problem solve the problem. Performance systems. How do I manage time? How do I manage marketing if you were in business? Or how do we manage things? It's about good systems. Have you ever just been so stressed out and said, this is stupid? Why do we do it like this? A system is an organized collection of parts that are highly integrated to accomplish a specific desired outcome. That frustration is because either the system was built and is no longer applicable, or we're not following the original system that is still applicable. It eroded. Systems. System thinking means that we have to move. Systems thinking, not systemic thinking, sequential thinking. Systems thinking, proactive, holistic. Systems thinking means that we have to move from seeing just the parts to seeing the whole. We have to move from things to relationships. How does this thing and that thing relate to one another? Not just the thing itself. We have to move from structures to the process. We have to move from hierarchy to network. Metcalf, one of the guys that was the founder of the internet, if you will, not Al Gore, but Metcalf. He said this, he said, if I could come up with a way to get 5 people to be deeply integrated, they could probably do the work of 20 people. Wow. And look where we are today with technology and all those things. There's an opportunity, not that we've always used it this way, but there's an opportunity for his vision to be a reality. We could get more done through greater connectiveness, more highly integrated. We have to move from rationale to the intuitive. We have to move from analysis, what just happened, to creation. Let's intend this to happen and build a system accordingly. Okay, so with all of that said, where do you stand? Let's do a quick self-survey. So the second competency is big picture, holistic systems thinking. Big picture, holistic systems thinking. Today's leader, forget about titles. You're a leader. Today's leader utilizes a proactive. So in other words, I don't wait for things to happen. I'm going to make them happen. I'm going to set out with what we intend, and then we're going to build a critical path to get there. Proactive systems thinking, holistic, big picture, see it all. How does it connect? How does it relate? Approach. That's the one that's going to win the day in the 21st century. Why? Because there's not enough time, energy, and effort. And what's interesting is the truism of Archimedes from thousands of years ago is still applicable today. Why? Because truth is truth. It was right 2,000 years ago. It'll be right 2,000 years from now. So as much as things are new, there ain't much new under the sun. Look at the box down below. If any of the parts or activities in the system are weakened or misaligned, the system will fail. You're not completely satisfied with the workplace? Look at the systems. You're not completely satisfied with the neighborhood? Look at the systems. You're not completely satisfied with your personal life, with your family? Look at the system. Not the system like, oh, the man far, far away. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the systems that you've put in place in your life, or the systems that we've put in place. See, because systems either organically grow up, in other words, they just kind of set themselves in, your routine, the way you do things, or they're intentionally created. So if you're not completely satisfied with the results of your life, then you have to say to yourself, what kind of system did I build? Was it intentional? And is it the one that times require? Or is it something that just kind of happened? It just kind of organically grew up, and here I am, and I didn't really put much thought to it, just kind of meandered through life, and boom, here I am. And then you wonder why you're not getting the results you want, Right, Jeff? I mean, you wonder why you're not getting the result you want because there was no intentionality in the building of the system. A system for personal management. How do I manage me? How do I keep myself on track? How do I stop myself from kind of just meandering and falling into a rut? Well, a couple of tips. Individual responsibility, collective accountability. That's where it all starts. Individual responsibility, collective accountability. Well, what does that mean? That means that I step and say, I'm individually responsible for my kids. I'm individually responsible for my kids. I have a 21-year-old, I have a 9-year-old, I have an 8-year-old, I have a 5-year-old. Now, I have to be honest with you and tell you, I didn't always understand that I was responsible. See, I thought the teacher was going to teach my kids. I thought that the Sunday school teacher was going to teach my kids. I thought the coach was going to teach my kids. I thought all those people were going to teach my kids, and then I would just hold them accountable for teaching them well. I thought that's the way it worked. That's not the way it works. I'm responsible. They're assisting, they're helping, but ultimately I'm responsible. How about in the workplace? I'm responsible. I call it the 10-foot rule. You can write that down. You know what I'm responsible for? Anything within 10 feet of me. Well, then you move all the time. Yeah, I'm responsible for anything within 10 feet of me. Can you imagine if we all just took that stance and just said, if I see it, I'm responsible for it. And in life, figuratively speaking, I'm responsible for stuff 10 feet. 10 feet. If I hear about hungry kids, If I hear about people getting beaten all the time, responsible. Now, the funny thing is about individual responsibility, we're collectively accountable. History will judge us as a society. History will judge you as a department. History will judge your subgroup. Now, when I say history will judge, I mean life. We either get the results or we don't get the results. So we're individually responsible, but we're collectively accountable. Accountable to who? Well, maybe just accountable morally to life of doing things well as a group. So I think before we can have a system to manage ourselves, I think we have to think those two, what I think are truisms. I'm individually responsible, and we are collectively accountable. Here's the funny thing. We tend to judge ourselves on what we intended to do, but we judge other people on what they actually did. Like an example. I say to my wife, well, I was going to take out the garbage. She's like, well, that's great, except the garbage man have now come and gone. I know, but I really did, and then I got on this call, and then this thing, and then the game, and I dropped the ball. So I'm okay because I feel like I intended to do it. So cut me some slack. But my wife is only looking at this, stinky garbage. That for the next 7 days, she has to deal with stinky garbage in the garage because I should have taken it out. We tend to judge ourselves on what we hoped we would do, intention. Now, my wife doesn't wash my clothes on Sunday, let's say. Well, come Monday when I got no underwear in my drawer, I'm like, hey, where's my underwear? And my wife says, well, I intended to do that. But then the kids and the sickness and the thing and the blah-da-da-da, and I just didn't get to it. And frankly, she says, if you wanted to wash, why didn't you wash it yourself? Well, because I do the garbage and you do the trash. You do the washing. She intended to do it, but how am I judging her? I'm judging her on the fact that I ain't got no underwear. Now, that's not to be sexist. I'm just making two examples. How about you? When your coworker does something, what are you judging them on? Well, you're probably judging them on their performance. How are you expecting everyone to judge you? Performance or intention? That's another key to building your own personal performance system. Next, a code of conduct. You say, oh, come on, Ian. Next thing you know, we're going to have to do a mission statement. Okay, well, I don't know whether it's a mission statement or value statement or beliefs. Some people use those tools to help them create a system of where they're going with their life, where they're going with their day. Some people have a faith-based system, the faith that they believe in. They use that system. I'm not telling you what you should do. You live your life. You're an adult. But I know this. I know that a code of conduct, a personal system of principles and values and standards of behavior will guide what you think, say, and do. See, I think you do need to have a true north. I think that's one of the keys to an effective system of managing myself and my performance. But I don't think it has to be complicated. I don't think you need to pay Anthony Robbins $15,000 in 3 easy payments or buy some books and tapes. I think it's pretty simple. And I think it boils down to this simplicity. Ask yourself 3 questions over the next week. Ask yourself 3 questions over the next week. What are the 3 values that you hold dear, and how would somebody else see them? Intention, action, result. So, not just I stand for this. Well, then how would I see that every day? It's like I love hearing people say, I stand for tolerance. And they're oftentimes the most intolerant people I've ever met. Or how about this one? I stand for everyone's right to speak. And then they won't let anybody else talk. I just find it amazing. I stand for life. And then they're happy to kill somebody. I don't get it. And I think that's on all sides of the aisle in the political spectrum. Remember, I'm not the sharpest pencil in the box. I just think you have to have some things you stand for, and you got to have some ways that people see it in reality, in daily life. So what are 3 things that you value, you hold dear, and how would I see it? Write those down over the next couple days. Because we're building our code of conduct, that true north that decides when we have to make decisions, priorities, which way we think, which way we speak, which way we act. Our code of conduct is what helps us do that. What are 3 things your coworkers can absolutely expect from you, no matter what? Now, some of you, your coworkers can absolutely guarantee you're going to make a smart aleck remark. Just guaranteed. For some of you, your coworkers can absolutely guarantee you will be 10 minutes late. Guaranteed. Write it down. For others of you, your coworkers can absolutely guarantee that you give your best effort every time. They know it. For others of you, your coworkers can absolutely guarantee that you'll be there with a kind word in the midst of chaos. What can people absolutely guarantee for you? See, I think it's an intentional exercise because you're creating the system. Highly integrated parts that you intend to achieve a certain outcome. What are 3 things people can absolutely guarantee for you? Finally, what are 3 things you just will not tolerate in yourself first? I always find it at least amazing with myself. Sometimes the things that I don't tolerate from other people, I do all the time. It's so amazing. I won't tolerate it in somebody else, but I find myself doing it all the time. And I think if people were honest, I think we all do that. But I know at least I do that. So what are those 3 things? Won't tolerate dishonesty. Won't tolerate a thief. Won't tolerate disrespect. Won't tolerate someone being hypocritical. Well, if you won't tolerate it in somebody else, have you set the same standard for yourself? Individually accountable, individually responsible, collectively accountable. The funny thing about this simple exercise is it helps focus us. It gives us a system. Here's the true north that we'll use to define us. Now, if you want to have a mission statement, awesome. If you want to have a value statement, awesome. You want to go off on a retreat and sit on a mountain and contemplate life, awesome. You want to have an altar experience, awesome. All those things are awesome. That's awesome. But it's always going to boil down to this. It's always going to boil down to these things. So ask yourselves the question. The next system. So the first system is, I think that's critical, if we're going to fulfill our important role, is that we have to have a system for our own personal performance management or leadership. We got to lead ourselves. But then the second system, I think that's the next step, is that we have to have a system for the thing that's the thing that we all have at our disposal. Huh? Well, I'll explain it. But I'll explain it through a metaphor. And this metaphor will be used throughout our time discussing the subject. Imagine if you got a knock on your door tomorrow morning. Hello, hello. A gentleman dressed in a nice regal suit, distinguished man. Hello, I am the great banker. And you'd be like, are there TV cameras with you? Is this Publishers Clearinghouse? Because if it's not, get off my stoop. Get off my doorstep. No, I'm here to do something. What are you here to do? I'm here to give you $86,000. Oh, ho, ho, great banker. Well then, thank you. Why? Well, I'm going to give you $86,000. I will credit your account this morning with that money. And then he says to you, but there'll be another stipulation. What's that? That at the end of this day, when you're laying your head down on the pillow, right before the clock strikes midnight, I'm going to come back and look in the account. Anything that you haven't used, anything that you haven't given to charity, anything that you haven't spent on your family, friends, coworkers, anything you haven't invested, or frankly, anything you haven't moved to another account, anything left in that bank account, I'm going to take away from you. I'm going to debit your account. Take it all back. Anything left. And you'd look at them and say, let me get this straight. I got $86,000 and I got to spend it today? Yes, he says. Because when I come back, I'm going to take it away. Anything that's left. And then you look at him and you say, well, wait a minute now. Let me get this straight. Let me understand the rules to this game. What about tomorrow morning? Do I get another $86,000 tomorrow morning? Oh, no. I can't tell you whether you will or not. You may, but you may not. The only thing I can tell you for a fact is you'll get $86,000. It's been credited to your account already. How are you going to spend it? And your mind will start reeling. And all of us would probably spend it in various different ways. But I guarantee you this, every single one of us would give every single dime out of that account. We would use it somehow. And we would try to use it intentionally. We would try to use it wisely. Oh, we might be frivolous with a little bit here and there, but in today's day and age, $86,000, I got to use it. I got to use it wisely. And so I would try to do my best to use it intentionally. Well, here's the funny thing. The funny thing is that you, me, us, we get $86,000 every day. What? 86,400 seconds in a day. 86,400 seconds in a day. 86,400 seconds in a day. And they're given to you as a gift to spend however you want. You see, that's the one thing that winners and losers have in common. It's time. 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 168 hours in a week. It's how we choose to use that time. Today, in the workplace, you've been given a certain amount of dollars, of seconds, of time. How are you going to use it? Whining and complaining that the world will not bend to your will? Or coming up with innovative and creative and new ideas? How about with your kids? Focusing on them, being in the moment with them, listening to their stories, or staring aimlessly off into the distance? Now, I'm not judging. These are questions I have to ask myself because I'm individually responsible. But we're collectively accountable. So I'm asking you, if you would be so kind, is to think in these terms for the next few days. Today I got $86,000. What am I going to do with it? Because the funny thing is, when you get to the end of your day, that metaphor of the great banker is true. Anything that you haven't used wisely, anything that you haven't used to help your family, help your coworkers, help the community, anything you haven't used to better yourself is gone forever. It's gone. It is gone forever. You don't get it back. And that's the tough part about life. And that's why, in my opinion, you must have a good system. Because time is a perishable commodity. It's fleeting. And we wake up one day and we say to ourselves, where did it all go? Well, it all went away because we didn't have an intended use, a system for its focused intended use. Time. How am I using it? We want to do more with less? Then we better be good stewards of that one commodity that every winner and every loser has in common. Time. Just some key principles. What do you need to know about time? First, that it's a perishable commodity. So choose how you use it wisely. It goes away. There is absolutely no guarantee that I'll have it forever. I learned that lesson painfully as I spent not enough time with my kid who is now 21. Now, she's turned out great. She graduates from Vanderbilt this year. Chemical engineer. She's starting a 6-figure job with a major gas and oil company just here in a few months. She's turned out great in spite of me being not so great. No, it wasn't bad, but I just didn't spend the time. Now, luckily, life's given me a break, and I get to keep working on that. But what if life hadn't given me a break? Missed opportunity, lost. Time. It's a perishable commodity. When we start to think in those terms, we start to stop and say to ourselves, now, am I sure I want to go do this? I don't know if that's a good use of my time. Wait a minute, am I sure I want to say that? Because that's not probably the effective use of those words. See, I think as soon as we add this to our code of conduct, that time is a perishable commodity, all of a sudden we start to check ourselves a little bit. And we don't waste time as much. We have to understand that the one thing that winners and losers have in common. I am dumb as a box of rocks. I took the short bus to school. I don't have any fancy letters after my name. But you know what? Through God's grace, I've been able to effectively use some time. Because it's the one thing that winners and losers have in common. We all have the same amount. That's a level playing field. 24 hours in a day and 168 hours in a week. That's a level playing field. I couldn't choose that my skin is brown. I couldn't choose that I was adopted. I couldn't choose that I lived in all kinds of different homes. I couldn't choose all that. But the one common denominator was I had the same amount of time as you. And it's going to be about what I do with it. And it's going to be about what you do with it. And collectively, it's going to be about what we all do with it. Pareto's principle. Pareto said that 80% of the stuff gets done through about 20% of the activity. So follow this little sequence. I only have so much time. I better be wise in how I choose it to do with it. Then Pareto said, well, there's actually some activities that get you better results than other activities. Oh, so I should spend my time doing those activities, right? Right. So what are those activities that get you what I call an ROI? Pareto said that there was 20% of the activities that get you 80% of the results. So if I can identify what those activities are, I'm probably going to get a greater result, a return for my time invested. So what about in the workplace? What in the workplace helps you get more done? What's that activity? Is it when we sit and have a good, solid meeting where we're all on the same page? Yeah, well then we should do that more. How about in your home? Is it spending real meaningful time with just you and your kids and your wife or your husband or your significant other or whatever, where you turn off all the technology and you turn off everything and we just play a game at the table and have supper together? Is that a great activity? Yeah, well then do that more. See, that's the funny thing. All of a sudden, success is in my hands because I have a choice in how I use my time. I can identify those activities that will give me the greatest return. And when I do that, success will happen. And then finally, some basic fundamentals. One is I got to have some kind of plan. See, if I'm reacting to the use of my time, it will always be less efficient and effective as if I'm proactively using my time. That's why it's called proactive systems thinking. So when I sit down and put together a plan, that's a fundamental. Some kind of tool to organize my time, not just off the top of my head. Because at some point, I'll get to a place where I can't hold it all in my head. All the different things I'm responsible to do. So I got to have a tool. So I got to have a plan, I got to have a tool. And then finally, I got to check the plan regularly to see if that's still a plan that's effective based on the times that I'm in. Is my plan what the times require? If people can be more efficient and more effective, if they can maximize, look what it says there, maximize the utilization of their time, then we can get more done with less. See, although this seems quite conceptual, I think it's very practical and can have significant impact. What do you mean? Well, if each one of us starts to think in terms of systems And if we can move away from them just kind of organically growing up, but intentionally creating them for an intended result, if we can have systems that manage us personally and not wait for our boss, not wait for our supervisor, but be individually responsible through a code of conduct, if we can come up with some systems that manage the one commodity we all have, time, to make us more impactful. And then finally, if we have a system for creating great ideas, the individual, all the individuals that do that collectively will make the world a better place. Thank you for all you do. We'll see you soon.